The last moments of Pope John Paul II were filled with profound reflections and spiritual urgency. Among his final words, a chilling reference to the third prophecy of Fatima has left the world wondering about its true meaning. What did he know? What secrets was he trying to convey? In this video, we will unravel the mystery surrounding his last words, the third prophecy, and the deeper implications for humanity. Prepare for a journey into the heart of one of the Church's most enigmatic mysteries. The Fatima Apparitions are among the most famous Marian visions in Catholic history, deeply rooted in both faith and mystery. In 1917, in the small Portuguese village of Fatima, 3 shepherd children, Lucia dos Santos and her cousins Francisco and Jacinta Marto, reported a series of visions of the Virgin Mary. Over the course of 6 months, from May to October, the Virgin Mary, whom the children referred to as Our Lady of Fatima, appeared to them on the 13th day of each month, delivering messages that would captivate and mystify the world. During these apparitions, the Virgin Mary entrusted the children with 3 secrets or prophecies, each carrying profound spiritual significance. The first 2 were revealed by Sister Lucia in the 1940s. The first prophecy spoke of a vision of hell, described vividly by the children as a place filled with terrifying suffering, souls lost in torment, and the urgent need for prayer and penance to save sinners. The second prophecy foretold the rise of communism and its spread across the globe, alongside a plea for the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This, Our Lady promised, would lead to Russia's conversion and a period of peace if her requests were heeded. The third prophecy, however, remained shrouded in secrecy for decades, fueling countless speculations. The Church initially withheld it, with Pope John XXIII reportedly deciding in 1960 that the world was not ready for its contents. This decision only deepened public fascination, as many began to associate the secret with apocalyptic events such as nuclear war, global devastation, or even the end of the world. The mystery surrounding this prophecy and the reasons for its secrecy made the Fatima story not only a spiritual milestone, but also a topic of widespread intrigue, even outside the Church. For Catholics, the Fatima apparitions represent a profound call to prayer, penance, and conversion. But for skeptics, the decades-long secrecy surrounding the third prophecy has raised questions about the Vatican's motivations. Was the Church hiding something too terrifying to reveal? The answers, it seemed, might lie in the words and life of one man deeply connected to the Fatima story, Pope John Paul II. Pope John Paul II's life and papacy are inextricably linked to the Fatima apparitions. From the moment of his election in 1978, he demonstrated a profound devotion to the Virgin Mary, famously adopting the motto "Totus tuus," totally yours, in honor of her. However, it was an event in 1981 that solidified his connection to Fatima and shaped his understanding of the third prophecy. On May 13, 1981, as Pope John Paul II greeted the faithful in St. Peter's Square, he was shot 4 times by Mehmet Ali Aka, a Turkish gunman. The date of the assassination attempt was no coincidence. It was the anniversary of the first Fatima apparition. The Pope himself later reflected that he felt Our Lady of Fatima's presence that day, intervening to save his life. Indeed, one of the bullets missed vital organs by millimeters, a detail that medical professionals described as miraculous. Following his recovery, John Paul II made a pilgrimage to Fatima in 1982 to express his gratitude to Our Lady. There, he placed one of the bullets that had struck him into the crown of the statue of the Virgin Mary, a gesture symbolizing his belief in her protective hand. He also used this moment to consecrate the world, and particularly Russia, to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, fulfilling one of the key requests of the Fatima messages. But John Paul II's relationship with Fatima went even deeper. He had read the contents of the third prophecy shortly after becoming Pope, and the vision it described profoundly affected him. While the Vatican would later reveal that the prophecy referred to a bishop in white, struck down by bullets and arrows amidst a scene of persecution and martyrdom, John Paul II seemed to believe that it carried even broader implications. He often spoke of the need for prayer to combat the culture of death and warned of looming spiritual and moral crises threatening humanity. In his speeches and writings, John Paul II wove the themes of Fatima into his broader mission of leading the Church into the new millennium. He saw in the apparitions a call for repentance, a plea for peace, and an urgent reminder of the consequences of turning away from God. Yet, despite his public embrace of the Fatima messages, he remained reserved about the full scope of the third prophecy, suggesting there was more to it than what had been revealed to the world. His statements on Fatima carried an undercurrent of warning, leaving many to wonder if he was hinting at a more ominous truth, one he could not fully articulate. As John Paul II neared the end of his life, his reflections on Fatima grew increasingly poignant. It was clear that he believed the message of the Virgin Mary was not confined to the past, but continued to hold relevance for the present and future. His devotion to Fatima was not just a matter of personal faith, it was a testament to his belief in the enduring power of Mary's intercession and the urgent need for humanity to heed her warnings. The third prophecy of Fatima remains one of the most enigmatic and debated revelations in Catholic history. For decades, the Church maintained its secrecy, fueling speculation about its contents and the reason for its concealment. While the first two prophecies were unveiled by Sister Lucia in the 1940s, detailing visions of hell and foretelling global conflict and the rise of communism, the third prophecy was withheld from public view until the year 2000. When it was finally revealed, the interpretation offered by the Vatican was met with both acceptance and skepticism, leaving many to wonder if the full truth had been disclosed. According to the official Vatican release, the third prophecy described a vision of a bishop in white, presumed to symbolize the Pope, walking through a devastated city filled with the bodies of martyrs. This figure, accompanied by other clergy and laypeople, ascends a hill toward a rough-hewn cross, only to be struck down by bullets and arrows. The scene is one of profound desolation and suffering, evoking images of persecution, martyrdom, and a church under attack. The Vatican's interpretation, presented by Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, later Pope Benedict XV, linked the prophecy to the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II on May 13, 1981. It was suggested that the bishop in white represented the Pope, and the attack on his life fulfilled the symbolic vision described in the prophecy. Furthermore, the broader imagery of suffering and martyrdom was said to reflect the 20th century's widespread persecution of Christians, particularly under totalitarian regimes. However, many remained unconvinced by this explanation, arguing that it failed to address the prophecy's full scope. Critics pointed out that Sister Lucia, the last surviving seer of Fatima, had indicated the prophecy was not merely symbolic, but contained specific warnings about future events. Additionally, her early writings described the prophecy as terrible, a word that seemed out of proportion to the Vatican's relatively mild interpretation. Among the most contentious aspects of the prophecy is the belief that it contains an apocalyptic message, one that the Vatican may have chosen to downplay or withhold altogether. Conspiracy theories abounded, with some claiming the prophecy warned of a cataclysmic event such as a nuclear war, a global spiritual crisis, or even the end of the world. Others speculated that it referred to internal turmoil within the Church itself, including the possibility of corruption or schism at its highest levels. Adding to the intrigue, key figures within the Church appeared to suggest that not all had been revealed. Cardinal Mario Luigi Ciappi, theologian to 5 popes, once reportedly stated that the prophecy concerned the loss of faith within the Church. Similarly, in the years following the prophecy's publication, several high-ranking clerics made cryptic remarks hinting at a deeper, unrevealed truth. These statements further fueled the belief that the Vatican's disclosure was incomplete. Sister Lucia herself, while affirming the official release of the prophecy, maintained a degree of reserve in her comments. She emphasized the importance of the message's spiritual aspects, particularly the call for prayer, penance, and conversion. Yet her reticence to fully elaborate left room for interpretation, and many questioned whether she had been instructed to remain silent on certain details. One of the most significant controversies surrounding the third prophecy is its timing. The Church's decision to delay its release until 2000, despite the Virgin Mary's directive to reveal it by 1960, raised questions about the Vatican's motives. Pope John XXIII, who reviewed the prophecy in 1959, reportedly chose not to disclose it, stating that it was not relevant to his time. This decision, repeated by subsequent popes, gave rise to speculation that the prophecy contained information too alarming for public consumption. When Pope John Paul II authorized its release in 2000, the move was seen as an attempt to close the chapter on Fatima and provide clarity. However, the presentation of the prophecy as a historical rather than a prophetic message did little to quell doubts. Many wondered if the decision to frame it as a vision of past events, rather than a warning of future dangers, was an effort to downplay its significance. The debate over the third prophecy also touches on deeper theological and philosophical questions. Should prophetic messages be taken literally or symbolically? Are they intended as warnings that can be averted through prayer and repentance, or as inevitable glimpses of what is to come? In the case of Fatima, these questions remain unresolved, as the prophecy's meaning continues to elude definitive interpretation. What is clear, however, is that the third prophecy has an enduring power to captivate and provoke. For believers, it serves as a reminder of the Virgin Mary's call to prayer and penance, as well as a testament to the spiritual realities that transcend human understanding. For skeptics, it is a puzzle, an intersection of faith, politics, and secrecy that invites scrutiny and demands answers. In the years since its release, the prophecy has continued to inspire reflection and debate. Whether viewed as a symbolic vision of the past or a veiled warning for the future, it holds a place at the heart of the Fatima story, challenging humanity to grapple with its message and its mystery. Pope John Paul II's final words about the third prophecy of Fatima are steeped in mystery and spiritual gravity, offering a glimpse into a mind profoundly aware of the world's fragility and the Church's mission in tumultuous times. His reflections, delivered in the twilight of his life, seemed to carry an urgency that suggested he felt the prophecy's warnings had not been fully understood, or worse, had been ignored. For those who followed his teachings and actions, his cryptic remarks about Fatima were not mere coincidences or afterthoughts, but rather deliberate attempts to awaken humanity to a perilous reality. In the years leading to his death, Pope Pope John Paul II often returned to the themes central to Fatima: prayer, penance, and conversion. He viewed these not as abstract spiritual practices, but as critical tools for confronting what he saw as a growing spiritual crisis in the world. This crisis, he believed, was deeply connected to the prophecy's warnings about suffering, persecution, and the Church's role in a rapidly changing global landscape. One of the most striking elements of his final reflections was his acknowledgement of the dangers facing humanity. He spoke of a culture of death marked by moral relativism, secularism, and the erosion of traditional values. This term, which became one of the defining phrases of his papacy, encompassed a wide range of issues, including abortion, euthanasia, and the dehumanizing effects of modern technology. For John Paul II, these were not merely political or social problems, but manifestations of a deeper spiritual malaise, a loss of faith, and a turning away from God. The Pope's references to the third prophecy in his final years were often subtle, yet they carried an unmistakable sense of urgency. In one of his last public appearances, he reportedly remarked that the Fatima message was more relevant than ever. Some who were close to him later recalled his growing concern about the state of the world, particularly the potential for global conflict, natural disasters, and widespread moral decay. These reflections led many to believe that John Paul II saw the prophecy not as a relic of the past, but as an active, ongoing warning for humanity. What makes his final words about Fatima particularly haunting is the way they resonate with the imagery of the third prophecy itself. The vision of the bishop in white walking through a devastated city seemed to parallel the Pope's own experiences of suffering and survival. From his brush with death in the 1981 assassination attempt to his declining health in later years, John Paul II embodied the figure of a spiritual leader bearing the weight of his people's struggles. His personal connection to the prophecy gave his words a credibility and poignancy that few could ignore. In his last days, as his physical strength waned, his spiritual focus seemed to intensify. Reports from those who were with him suggest that he spent hours in prayer, reflecting on the Church's future and the challenges ahead. Among his final statements was a cryptic remark about the importance of vigilance and readiness, which some interpreted as a reference to the ongoing relevance of Fatima's warnings. While he did not explicitly elaborate on what he meant, the context of his life and teachings left little doubt that he saw a direct link between the prophecy and the spiritual state of the modern world. John Paul II's decision to release the third prophecy in 2000, along with his subsequent reflections, also hinted at a deeper understanding of its implications. While the official Vatican interpretation focused on the assassination attempt and the broader persecution of Christians, the Pope's own comments suggested he saw the prophecy as part of a larger narrative, one that encompassed both historical events and future challenges. His references to Fatima often included calls for prayer and action, indicating that he believed the prophecy's warnings could still be mitigated through faith and repentance. One of the most debated aspects of his final reflections is whether he believed the full prophecy had been revealed. Some analysts argue that his cryptic remarks indicate he felt certain aspects of the prophecy had been deliberately withheld or misinterpreted. This belief is supported by statements from other church figures who have suggested that the third prophecy contains elements too disturbing to share publicly. If this is true, it raises profound questions about what John Paul II may have known and why he chose to address the prophecy in such an indirect manner. For many, his final words serve as a call to action. a reminder of the ongoing spiritual battle between good and evil and the need for vigilance in the face of growing challenges. Whether viewed as a warning, a plea, or a prophecy in itself, his reflections on Fatima carry an undeniable weight. They speak to a leader deeply aware of his responsibilities, not just to the church, but to humanity as a whole, and to a man whose faith and vision transcended the boundaries of his own life. In the years since his death, John Paul II's words about Fatima have continued to resonate, prompting new discussions about the prophecy's meaning and relevance. For those who see in his final reflections a message of hope, his legacy is a testament to the enduring power of faith. For others, his cryptic warnings serve as a sobering reminder of the challenges that lie ahead and the need to heed the prophetic voices of the past. Whatever one's interpretation, his words remain a powerful and enduring part of the Fatima story, a final chapter in the life of a man whose devotion to Our Lady of Fatima shaped his papacy and his vision for the world. The implications of the third prophecy of Fatima, as well as Pope John Paul II's final reflections on it, extend far beyond the confines of Catholicism. They touch on universal themes of human survival, moral responsibility, and the spiritual state of humanity. Whether one interprets the prophecy through the lens of faith or as an allegorical warning, its message remains profoundly relevant to the challenges of the modern world. To understand its implications, we must consider the spiritual, moral, and existential crises facing humanity today, and reflect on what the prophecy calls us to do. At its core, the third prophecy speaks of suffering, sacrifice, and redemption. The vision of the bishop in white walking through a devastated landscape filled with martyrs highlights the inevitability of human suffering, but also points to the possibility of triumph through faith and perseverance. This duality, suffering and hope, mirrors the challenges of our times. As humanity grapples with issues such as war, environmental collapse, social injustice, and moral decay. The prophecy serves as a reminder that these struggles are not merely physical or political, but deeply spiritual in nature. Pope John Paul II often emphasized the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual realms, suggesting that the crises we face in the material world are symptoms of a deeper spiritual problem. The prophecy's call for prayer, penance, and conversion underscores the need for a spiritual awakening. It is a plea for humanity to return to its moral and ethical foundations, to reject the culture of death that prioritizes convenience and self-interest over the sanctity of life and the common good. One of the most striking aspects of the prophecy's implications is its emphasis on individual and collective responsibility. The vision of martyrdom and persecution is not just a warning of what might come. It is a call to action. It challenges believers to stand firm in their faith, even in the face of adversity, and to work toward creating a world that reflects the values of compassion, justice, and peace. This call is not limited to Catholics or Christians, but extends to all people of goodwill who seek to build a better world. The prophecy's relevance becomes even more apparent when viewed in the context of global events. From the rise of authoritarian regimes and the erosion of democratic values to the growing threat of climate change and the specter of nuclear conflict, the challenges facing humanity today echo the themes of the prophecy. The devastated city seen in the vision could be interpreted as a symbol of the consequences of human hubris and neglect. A reminder that the choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow. In this sense, the prophecy is not simply a prediction, but a warning with a purpose. It calls us to recognize the interconnectedness of our actions and their impact on the world. Pope John Paul II often spoke of the need for solidarity, urging individuals and nations to work together to address the root causes of suffering and inequality. He saw the Fatima message as a roadmap for achieving this, emphasizing that prayer and action must go hand in hand. Another critical aspect of the prophecy's implications is its focus on the role of the Church. The vision of the Bishop in White and the accompanying scenes of martyrdom highlight the challenges the Church faces in fulfilling its mission in the modern world. From internal divisions and scandals to external persecution and hostility, the Church must navigate a complex landscape while remaining faithful to its principles. The prophecy serves as both a warning and a reminder of the Church's responsibility to stand as a beacon of hope and truth, even in the darkest times. For individuals, the prophecy's call to prayer and penance is an invitation to personal transformation. It encourages self-reflection, repentance, and a commitment to living a life rooted in faith and virtue. This personal dimension of the prophecy is particularly relevant in an age marked by distraction and superficiality. It challenges people to look beyond material concerns and focus on the deeper spiritual aspects of their lives. On a broader level, the prophecy also speaks to the power of collective action. The vision of people ascending the hill toward the cross suggests that salvation is not an individual endeavor, but a communal one. It calls on humanity to work together, to support one another in times of trial, and to strive for a world that reflects the values of love, justice, and peace. This message is particularly urgent in an era of polarization and division, where the bonds of community are often strained. Finally, the prophecy's emphasis on hope is perhaps its most enduring message. While it acknowledges the reality of suffering and the possibility of destruction, it also points to the transformative power of faith and perseverance. The cross at the center of the vision is a symbol of redemption, a reminder that even in the face of great trials, there is a path to renewal and salvation. For Pope John Paul II, the Fatima prophecy was not just a message from the past, but a living guide for the present and future. His reflections on its implications were a testament to his belief in the enduring power of faith and the importance of heeding the Virgin Mary's call. As we navigate the challenges of our time, the prophecy continues to offer a source of inspiration and guidance, reminding us of the need for vigilance, humility, and unwavering commitment to the greater good. Whether viewed as a divine revelation or a profound allegory, it speaks to the deepest questions of human existence and the choices we must make to shape our destiny.